Hey, everybody. I know it's been quiet on my end a little bit. I apologize for that. But like I said, I've been focusing on the writing. And it's going good. Still got a ways to go, but it is definitely coming out really well. I'm still waiting for some notes from some people that offered me some feedback for some other changes. I have to do some editing, but yeah, and of course I'm about 2/3 of the way finished. The whole thing, I think. I think. The beginning there was a lot to it, but when I get to the end, I'm almost to the point where it's downhill. I've got a little bit further to go, and then it'll be downhill. I've gotten a lot of motivation lately to do that, and that's what I want to talk about for the topic today. And I know it's something I've talked about before, but oh, excuse me. Uh, it comes to light recently, like it's really hitting home. But you know, the importance of the company you keep, your circle, it matters. You know, the people I was hanging around a few months ago gave me no motivation, no inspiration. And I won't say like not at all. Like sometimes they would talk a good game, but then the action wouldn't back it up. Like one guy talked about, getting me back to doing side jobs and doing side work, and I was like, oh, awesome. And he took me on one with him, and I proved myself. I do have experience doing electrical work. And he's like, oh man, that was great. And then like never reached out for that again. Like still had communication with him, but never like lined up another side job, which you know I hear about the ones he was doing, but I didn't get invited to him. So like I don't know. Were you lying to me? Did I do something messed up? And you're like, you just don't want to use me? If so, be honest with me. Or is it, one of those things of convenience? And that again is more hurtful than helpful. Don't start things that you're not going to finish. Don't give somebody hope if you're not going to back it up. You know what I mean? But that was the same one that, what I found? If somebody is in competition with you, right, they're not a friend. Right? They can't be, because friends don't compete. Competition happens at the bottom. Cooperation happens at the top. That's when you work together. The only person I'm trying to be better than is who I was yesterday. That's it. Some people, they got to be, the loudest one in the room, or flashing the most cash, or like playing games, or doing sports stuff. They got to be the ones, no matter what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is something nice about having an interest and being good at something, but that's a difference. That's something that you have practiced. That is something that you have spent a lot of time with, rather than just being cocky and some people do stuff just for the fun of it. I'm one of those people. I ain't got to prove myself to nobody except myself. Well, me and God. We're good. We're pretty solid right now, so I got no worries. If you like me, cool. We can vibe. You don't like me? Okay, go about your business. Have a good day. But again, this old circle, and it sucks because I'm trying to let it all go. But again, I'm getting these reminders, which I'll get to the good part soon, I promise. But my ex, again, I was sitting here trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. And rather than try and help me in that, like a partner is supposed to, she starts freaking out about, well, what are we going to do with it? How are we going to do this? Blah, blah. Help me get myself together. And remember, I'm the one that was good at this. I really am. I make stuff happen. I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. I was stuck in a spot, and I needed a nudge to get out of it, and not a single one of anybody in my friggin' circle could do it. You know, I spoke life into every single one of those people. Multiple times for some. Every time they needed it. Or anytime they needed, you know, that little wake-up call that, hey, you're not missing this part. You know, I was always there. When I was in the depths of my depression, when I couldn't even stand to look at myself, I still made myself available. They called, I answered. You know, I showed up. I might not have been in great shape when I showed up, but I showed up. And when it was time for the favor to be returned, not a single one. You know, another one of my female friends. You know, we had that playful, there was never anything like there. Like, you know, never. We knew each other since high school. But that's how we would, like, joke around. And she was okay doing that shit in front of, you know, the girl I was with at the time. Or, I'm sorry, the woman. Let me use correct terminology. I don't want to make anybody feel a certain way. She had no problem doing that then, and knowing it made her uncomfortable. You know, my girlfriend at the time. And I'm like, hey, you know, not cool. But then, after I'm suddenly single, now that's not the way she wants to joke around anymore. Like, okay, so when I was with somebody, even though it made them uncomfortable, it was okay to play that way. But now that I could actually, like, back up, not that I would, but again, they're a friend, not anything more than that. But still, just because that potential was there, oh, now you're going to back off? Like, I do not get people in this day and age. I don't understand them. Like, none of them make friggin' sense. It just drives me nuts. You know, these are the people that I was surrounding myself with. No wonder I could not get anything done for myself. I was constantly, again, trying to give affirmation when I didn't even have any for myself. And I did. I dug deep and I found it. For them. I just couldn't get it for myself, and nobody else was putting it in. Now I'm free of that. You know, first and foremost, I got myself through, well, me and God, again, but, you know, not another living soul here. Not counting, you know, family, obviously. I love my family. My family's great. I'm talking like non-blood related, you know, friends, partners, whatever, in that scope. I had a really shitty pick for all of them. I was like, man, I really shopped on the discount rack for that shit. Not to talk shit on them, because they are all good people. But they all had, I lost the word, but they were very insecure with themselves. And they showed it in different ways. And that's the thing about, you know, being around me, right? You don't have a choice. You got to level up at some point. That or we got to fall off, one or the other. That's how it's been for a few years. You know, I'll sit with you and go through, you know, your dark night of the soul. I'll be right there beside you if you need. All you got to do is call. I'm good at that. I've been through enough of them on my own, like I'm almost a professional at it. But again, that's not what it's not about talking you through it. It's just about being there and giving you. But again, I did it on my own, and in the end, I look back on it and I'm like, damn, I felt weak for so long, and look how strong I really am. You know? but again, not my strength. But I finally turned my face back to God. I finally, where it should have been from the beginning. And that changed everything. I mean, that was almost instant. Literally, the weekend after the breakup, I was back in church, and I've been going ever since. And I'm getting more and more involved. They got the anniversary coming up. We're going to celebrate that. And they talked me into, jumping in the choir, at least for that. And we all know how I feel about singing. It's not for, I spent 30 some years as a smoker, so my voice is, I'm a good speaker. I'm loud and clear. Singing, though, is not my forte. But they wanted more, especially like male voices, because there was only one other guy in the choir. So I'm like, okay, all right, I'll do my best. And we did a practice run, and we went through it twice, and everybody seemed satisfied with it. It sounded good to me. But again, I'm kind of tone deaf, so I don't know if my opinion counts. But I'm happy to be involved. I went up earlier this week. I pushed myself probably harder than I should have. I did pay for it for a couple nights. I was sore, but I went up to help power wash, because we wanted the place to look nice for, anybody visiting by, for the anniversary. And we ended up, Pastor brought his power washer, and we ended up going around the whole thing. We didn't do any, ladder. We didn't want to risk anybody getting hurt, so we didn't do any ladder stuff. But we made it the full, all the way around. It turned out good, and I was very, I was sore at the end of the day, but I felt great at the same time, because it's been so long since I've put in a good day's work like that. I miss that. I'm not out of work because I'm lazy. I'm out of work because my health, and I'm a liability, honestly. I cannot do labor jobs anymore. Not professionally. I mean, I can do stuff around to help, or for myself, I do it all the time. But again, I'm too much of a liability, to do it for somebody else. And that was the thing I was trying to get through to my ex. Like, hey, this is one of those times I have to think outside the box. I have to switch gears. And I don't know what to do. I'm kind of lost. And rather than, help, I got a hindrance. Well, I need your attention over here on this. Or, well, why don't you just do this? And again, labor related. No, again, that's a two-way thing. Not only does it put me at risk for my health, but again, it makes me a liability to cut. As soon as they hear I'm on 3, heart attacks, no, you're not doing this job, And I spent so long trying to figure out to get my life together, and I had a plan. I did. I had a good solid 2-year plan. Some of it even took a shortcut. Not me taking a shortcut, but it happened quicker than I thought it would. Some of them I'm still working on, but hey. And it's just, again, not to shit talk, but in genuine, I had to drop the dead weight. That's what was holding me back, was I was constantly distracted. Instead of focusing on myself like I should have, I had to worry about this one and that one and that one. And hey, that's great when I'm at capacity to do that. But I was in no capacity. I needed help myself. And I was in no really shape to help others. Even though I was still good at it, I shouldn't have been, I had stuff in me to fix first. That's not selfishness. That's doing things right, Because if I come from a bad place, then it's going to be bad advice. But again, you ask for just a little bit of reciprocation. I wasn't even, because I know, I've known for a while, honestly. I'm I'm definitely on the intense end of that. And it's hard to match my energy. I know. Not to, again, I'm not getting boastful or it's just, don't confuse arrogance, and acceptance. Again, like I said, being around me, you kind of have to level up because I have that high energy. And that's what I focus on. That's what I do is growth. You know? And I outgrew everybody. And sometimes it's funny. Sometimes I feel nostalgic. Like I remember when I would have, several people here and hanging out and stuff going on. But I mean, yeah, we had some laughs, but nothing ever went anywhere. You know? Now I feel like I'm going somewhere. I feel like there's a goal. I mean, not one that necessarily can be attained because some of it is an ongoing process, like study and knowledge. And, you know, I'm really digging the Bible studies. And that's all the way around. The ones I read, the ones I do at church, the ones I write for myself, which that's the big thing I've been working on, is a huge Bible study. Put it this way, I'm on page 33, and I'm only, like I said, about 2/3 done. It's a huge Bible study. But when it's done, I'll put the link out so everybody can check it out. It's really good. It's a deep dive. A lot of good information in there. Anywho, no. So that's what I've been working on. And now for the better part, I got through all the dark, nasty stuff. Oh, excuse me. Um, the first thing was coming up to the church up here and joining in like that. That is the best decision I have made in a long time. And that was one of the first decisions I made on my own, not factoring anybody else into it. At that point, I was done with everybody. So that was my first decision on my own. And I got to get myself back to church. I got to go. Because I know that's what, it's hard for people to fill my cup, so to speak, to use the social media lingo. But God does it every time. And it's funny because I keep partnering myself with these people that pull me away from that because they know, I guess they're threatened by, that inner strength. Because again, when I am in my faith, I am in it. And everybody around me knows it. Not necessarily by me, pushing my faith on people, but I do become the living example. I try to. Again, I'm human, so I mess up, but I'm a lot better at it when I'm strong in my faith. I'm a lot more convicted in my actions. Again, I'm a good example of what people want to become. But then when you live authentically like that, it makes people that are not quite up to par, they don't like that. But I met, some good people that bring it out of me. All the people at the church, like, fantastic. I really, they're all great people. I'm so thankful, for that crowd. A handful of them have been very influential into what I'm doing. They're the ones that motivated me. That's why I got back to writing. I got a message to share. So that's what I got to do it right. And then I made another friend online. I put their link to their channel on here before, and I'll try and add it on this one too. Self-help girl who does like similar stuff to me. Well, she does more stuff. Like she does comedy skits and fashion stuff where I just talk, about philosophy and psychology and growth and, lately religion. Well, God, difference. I am spiritual, not religious. Religion is for people afraid of going to hell. Spirituality is for ones that have been there. I've been there and back again a few times. I made a few trips because I'm hard-headed. It takes me a while to learn some things. But yes, I have experienced it, and I do not, want to ever lean that way again. I need to quit playing around and get serious, about things like that, especially with the gifts I was given. I'm supposed to live in my purpose, not shrink and hide away from it. And, everybody's bringing it out of me, and that's I'm loving it. But yeah, to my new friend, it's great. It's it's funny. She definitely has got me feeling more like my old self. We kind of bring it out of each other, and it's great because, again, I can speak life into everybody but myself. And I think she's like similarly afflicted. But now that we can bounce encouraging words off of one another, it's great. And we'll get to that. I actually looked up scripture for that, but and the saying is true. You get like-minded people together, and you don't want an echo chamber. There's a difference in that. If you're all parroting each other, you're not learning, you're not growing. But if you both have the same like sense of conviction, like she and I don't see eye to eye on everything. We don't agree on everything. We agree on a lot, though. We're very similar-minded. And that's why we encourage each other to, hey, think of this perspective instead of that one that you thought of it as so far. That's one of the great things about having diverse friends, is you learn more perspectives. If you are somebody who, wants to be empathic, that is a skill that you can develop. Depending on the sense of what you consider empathy, or an empath. I learned it, the traditional, the hard way. I've been working on it since childhood. Like, I had to understand behaviors. You know what I mean? I had to notice patterns as a kid to kind of get through it. And I carried those skills into adulthood, and now I understand them. I can expand, on it. Excuse me. Oh, and that's what I talk about a lot. You get further into your word, and you can build your discernment. And I've been doing good at that. Again, picking my new friends. Again, we're going to do a lot of collaborations. We're going to do a lot of work. We're already, building each other's channel up by sharing and commenting and leaving likes, and I finally have, again, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And I'm finally hanging around a circle that, again, speaks life into me just as I like to speak life into others. Whenever and wherever I can, however I can. I always try to give somebody an encouraging word. That, or guide them to a realization so that they can improve themselves. Sometimes that's not something people want to hear, but they need to hear, And it works the same for me. And again, that's great because already some of my friends have called me out a couple times like, hey, your words and your actions aren't matching up. You want to fix that. I'm thankful for that. That's what friends are supposed to do. You know, they know how good you can be. So keep bringing that out of yourself. Don't slump back into what you were. That you want to get away from that. But that reminds me, I did pick out some scripture. The first one we're going to go to. I'm going to hang out in Proverbs for a little bit. The first one will be chapter 12, verse 26. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. So it's about the quality, the company you keep. And the next one is right on the next page. Chapter 13, verse 20. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. This is from Proverbs, the book of wisdom. Right? And I got one more for that part of it. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians. Sorry. No, yeah, okay. Chapter 15, verse 33. Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. So again, the company you keep, it's an influence on you. It rubs off, But the good news, gospel. That's what gospel means, by the way, is good news. Now I see Professor Farnsworth from Futurama. Anyway. So the good news, in flip to that, is we're going to go to 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Right? I share that one a lot. That is one of my go-to verses. Like when you decide that you want to do better for yourself and you start getting in your word and trying to walk the walk as well as talk the talk, and you get an understanding and you build that personal relationship, it is absolutely, world changing. It really is. Highly recommend it. Anyway, and I got one more, and this is probably one of my favorite verses to quote. I say it all the time. It's in Proverbs chapter 27, and verse 17. Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Iron sharpens iron. I say that all the time. That's right up there with great minds think alike. But notice, how do you sharpen iron? You have to strike it, right? It's not a clean, smooth process. You got to shape it. You got to mold it. That's why I say good friends will point out when you're going astray, when you're mucking yourself up and starting to do things that you shouldn't be. They'll correct you. And if you're smart, you'll let them correct you. If you want to stay in your old ways, you don't want to change. You don't want to grow. Stay there. Just don't expect people to hang around you, It's one thing to forgive somebody for their mistakes, for bad habits that they truly want to, it's like addiction. There is going to be relapse from time to time. That, it's an unfortunate truth of it. But are you going to put in do you genuinely want to change your life? Do you want to get better? That's what's important. And if you truly want to do that, then you got to be around people that'll be like, hey, you're being dumb. Fix that. You want people to be honest with you and call you out like that, who aren't afraid to, you know. Some people are way too touchy on that. Like, literally, there's an allergy to accountability out there. It drives me nuts. I can't stand it. You know, some people walking around out there, their whole life could be changed. All they would have to do is give an apology, and they just can't put their ego aside, or can't self-reflect enough to be like, hey, you know what, maybe I am the problem from time to time, maybe I should fix that. Instead, no, I refuse to change. I don't need to change. There's nothing wrong with what I do, but don't you dare do it. Yeah. Oh God, I can't stand a double standard. And that's all this modern world is loads of double standards. Drives me nuts. Can't wait till I'm done this tour. You know, but I got work to do, so that's what I'm here to do. Anyway, I've gone way over, more than double time, but I did want to fill in, and again, that was what was on my mind. I know I talked about it before, but I wanted to revisit it and give some new information. Excuse me. Sorry. But yeah, things are going good. So I'll be back on here again doing more, when I'm done the writing part, especially when I'm done the writing, because then it's probably going to take multiple videos, because again, I'm on page 30 something and I've still got more to go. This is a big study, so it's probably going to be a few hours worth of video. But yeah, we'll get to that. In the meantime, I'm keeping busy with that, but please just keep working on, like I said in the very beginning, work on your journals, work on your self-reflection, work on the people you're hanging around. If you really want different from your life, you have to make change. That's a good slogan. Keep your money. I just want change. That's kind of my motto, I'm not in it to get rich and famous. I'm in it because the world needs to change. Like, I'm very unhappy and uncomfortable with the way the world is right now. So I am going to do everything in my power to get people to think. Like, again, and I'm not even trying to push anybody on what to think. I just want to reteach people how to think, because a lot of y'all forgot. Some of you might have never knew. But there is a shortage of people willing to think for themselves out there. That's why it's gotten so bad, because people take everything at, full value without verification. They just want to believe everything they hear and act on it. Damn, this shit ain't even true. Like, do some fact checking. And again, get out of that echo chamber that's the same bunch of idiots who refuse to do the research, bouncing the same words off of each other. That's what an echo chamber is. A room full of idiots. If you cannot stand to surround yourself with somebody who has even a slightly different idea than you, you are a very weak and cowardly individual. I can't stand that. I don't want to be in an echo chamber. I mean, granted, I don't even know anybody that thinks like I do, so it's kind of hard for me to create one, but still, No thanks. I like independent thought. I like to exchange ideas, trade them back and forth. Have a good discussion. Like, this is what I believe and this is why I believe it. Okay, that's cool. I see where you're coming from, and here's my, and we exchange notes. It doesn't even have to be a debate. It doesn't have to be like a competition, right? It's just let's exchange some thoughts. Try and learn a new perspective. That's it. It's all learning. You'd be surprised. A lot of people got a lot of things to teach. They don't even realize it themselves. But if you watch them long enough, they'll teach you a lot. You just got to know, how to read it. Anywho, again, we're way over time, but I did want to jump in and give an update and give a shout out. Again, I'll put the link down below for my friend. We're doing a lot of work together on our channels. She's trying to get me more into the comedy style, and she's winning that battle because, again, my quick wit, when I'm not sitting there trying to hide it to make others comfortable, I can be funny when I choose to. And, the friendship that we have is bringing that out of me, back out of me, that joy, that I'm finally starting to feel good again, not just in general, but even about myself, because that was my big issue. That's what led me down, is I had no friggin' self-respect. None. Not a shred of it. I don't think, for as much as I, felt hated in this world, nobody hated me more than me. And I fixed that. It was almost like somebody threw a switch. I grew a spine, like, real quick. I said, hey, this is not going to fly. And I meant it. People thought I was playing. I had enough. Especially the more research I've been doing about, how my brain works. I'm in a very, very small percentage. But there are other people out there like me. I'm aware of that now. There's not many, but everything I see, or hear about it says anywhere from 1% to 3% of the global population. And to me, that's wild. That's pretty rare. And again, we ain't perfect. We're all human. We make mistakes, but it's not just because the rarity that makes it valuable, but it's the skills that we come with. Again, that just alone, the ability to, you're having a bad day, I can speak life into you. I can understand you enough to give you the right words to encourage you. Like, that alone is invaluable. And there's so much more to it than that. Yet we live in a world of people that just want to fumble that. Like, they don't give a shit. Like, it's all about me, me, me. What can I get out of it? If I'm not getting what I want, screw you. Yeah. All right. And I still refuse to, I'm not going to think and act like those people. I can't, I refuse. It's like that oath in Kingdom of Heaven. Speak the truth, even if it leads to your death. Be authentic. Don't shrink yourself. Don't mold yourself in it. Don't conform to what everybody else wants you to be. But again, there's a difference. That doesn't mean, you do have to change to fit into society. You have to be able to work together. That's the only way we all survive. Right? But it's our uniqueness, too, that makes us special. But again, you don't understand that until you build your discernment. There is a difference between what guidelines to fall into and which ones, or where do I get to show me individually, because the universe and God, it's all about humility. But again, it's that diversity that he loves about us. It's the fact that we are unique. It's some food for thought. All right. Just keep taking care of yourselves and try and help take care of each other where you can. I'll see you in the next one.